before the city had a name before the streets, before the banners, before anyone carved power into marble. There was just dirt, dry dirt, wet dirt, river mud that swallowed footprints before they mattered. Somewhere along a slow, moody river, a handful of people tried to survive. They weren't thinking about empire. They were thinking about tomorrow, about food, about fire, about not dying in the night. The land didn't care who they were. The river didn't care either. It flooded when it wanted, took lives when it felt like it, gave back when it was done being cruel. And right there, in that ugly, uncertain space, something dangerous was born. Not destiny, not prophecy, ambition. The kind that doesn't talk loud, the kind that watches, waits, and remembers. Stories spread fast in places like that. Stories about gods messing with human lives, about bloodlines touched by something higher, about kids who shouldn't have survived but did anyway. Those stories stuck because people needed them to, because believing you were chosen felt better than admitting you were just lucky. That's how the city began, not with walls, with belief. Chapter 2. Power always wants a crown. Once the settlement had a name, it needed a boss. At first, it was simple. One guy, one voice, one rule. Do what I say or don't stay. People were cool with that. At the beginning, kings make sense when everything's chaos. You don't argue when survival's on the line. Some kings built, some prayed, some swung swords like that was their whole personality. But every crown came with paranoia. Every throne came with enemies. And sooner or later, blood hit the floor. That's how it always goes. The city got bigger. Roads stretched. Temples rose. Laws were spoken out loud but never written down, because the people in charge liked it that way. Knowledge was leverage. Silence was control. And eventually, the people snapped. They didn't overthrow the city. They overthrew the idea of kings. No more crowns, they said. No more one man calling all the shots. Instead, they built something messy, loud, complicated. A system where power bounced around so fast, no one could hold it too long. They called it freedom. Chapter 3. The Republic was a fight club. The Republic wasn't pretty. It was arguments in the streets. Rich dudes pretending they cared about poor folks. Poor folks getting sent to die in wars they didn't start. Everyone talked about equality. Nobody practiced it. The elite hoarded land. The regular people lost farms while fighting overseas. Soldiers came home broke, angry, and forgotten. The city filled up with veterans who had nothing left except rage and loyalty to whoever promised them something real. That's when politics turned savage. Speeches turned into threats. Debates turned into riots. Reformers got stabbed in broad daylight. And Rome learned a hard truth. Once violence solves a problem, it never stops being an option. Chapter 4. The generals figured, eat out. The smartest men in the room weren't senators anymore. They were generals. Guys who didn't just talk about power. They commanded it. Armies followed them. Soldiers trusted them. And soldiers don't care about laws written by men who never bleed. One general crossed a line he wasn't supposed to cross. Everyone knew it. Everyone felt it. That moment changed everything. Civil war hit like a storm. Friends turned on friends. The city held its breath while legions marched against legions. And when the dust settled, one man stood taller than the rest. He didn't call himself king. That word was poison. He called himself necessary. And Rome let him. Chapter 5. Peace, but make it control. The empire didn't arrive screaming. It arrived quietly. Borders locked down. Roads paved, trade exploded, cities boomed. For the first time in generations, people slept without wondering if tomorrow meant war. And yeah, it came at a price. Freedom shrank, voices softened, obedience became the vibe. But peace hits different when you've known chaos. People didn't care what the system was called anymore. They cared that it worked, so they traded arguments for order. And the empire rolled on. Chapter 6. Golden ages always lie. At its peak, the empire felt untouchable. Money flowed, art flexed. Law reached farther than any army ever had. Roads connected worlds. The capital glowed like it would last forever. But underneath, cracks. Too much land. Too many enemies. Too much ego. armies loyal to men instead of ideas, emperors chosen by blood instead of brains. The peace faded fast. By Chapter 7, when the world pushed back, borders broke. Not all at once, just enough to matter. Foreign tribes weren't monsters. They were people looking for land, food, safety. The empire tried to manage them, exploit them, control them. Bad move. Rebellions popped. Armies failed. Emperors died like flies. Cities burned. Confidence evaporated. And then the unthinkable happened. The capital fell. Not destroyed, just exposed. And once the myth dies, power never feels the same again. Chapter 8. The Long Goodbye. The West crumbled slowly. No grand finale. No epic last stand. Just silence. New kings rose where governors once ruled. Old laws survived in pieces. Churches replaced temples. Latin turned into languages that barely remembered their source. But in the East, the empire refused to die. It changed names, changed gods, changed clothes. But it kept calling itself Roman and believed it. For another 1,000 years, it held on, until even stone gives up. Final chapter. Nothing lasts but stories. Empires don't disappear. They echo in laws, in cities, in the way power still moves today. What started as mud and ambition reshaped the world, then faded into memory. But memory, that sticks. And tonight, that story is yours. Sleep easy. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, share, comment,